Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number LB4342-400-632 single acting spring hinge, full mortise, residential duty, lube bearing, steel base, bright brass plated. Okay, so single acting spring hinge by Bommer. Let's dissect the part number a bit so we can determine what it is. So the LB stands for lube bearing. It's a maintenance-free type of bearing construction by Bommer. The 4342 specifically means that the hinge construction or the layout is specifically for Pease manufactured doors, meaning it's a combination of the radius, 5/8 of an inch radius corner, and the location of the screw holes. The -400 means that it is a 4x4 hinge. The height is the first dimension on a hinge like this, 4x4. And the 632 means that it is a steel base hinge with a brass plating on it. Okay, steel base hinge. 632 means a polished brass, and that's what that looks like. So it's a single acting full mortise spring hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaf here that the hinge is intended to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and to the frame. Okay. Leaf thickness is 96 thousandths, which is typical for a residential application where you've got a 85 to 109 thousandths of an inch deep mortise in your door and frame. There is a link below this video to template, which shows everything important dimensionally about this hinge, so that you can review to make sure that this is the proper hinge for your application. Being a spring hinge, that means it's going to include a tension rod and then a tension pin. This order has 2 hinges on it, so there are 2 tension pins in here. The packaging, silver pin that you see there, here. So the way that this works, and the hinge is completely non-handed. It can work for left hand or for right hand doors. When the tension collar is up, you insert the tension rod into one of those holes that you see there, and you rotate that clockwise. Rotate it clockwise, and you reveal additional holes. And it's into one of those additional holes that you would insert your pin. And you typically would go no more than 3 holes. And that's how you set the tension on the spring. Including with this is going to be all wood screws, all metal screws, and a complementary finish. Now back to the spring tension. There's a guide below this video saying that if you've got doors up to 85 pounds, you'd be looking at 2 spring hinges and 1 standard hinge, or 110 pounds, you'd be looking at 3 spring hinges. And you can mix and match because the vertical axis of pivoting is compatible with a standard hinge. Now, I'm a fan of all spring hinges, and here's why. I have found when setting tension on these that if I've got 1 spring and I need 2, or if I've got 2 and I really need 3, that while I can get the door, when it's opened, into the closing cycle, if I don't have enough spring tension, the last third of the closing cycle, the door doesn't really have any inertia, or nor is there enough stored energy in the springs to get the door to really close, because it's overcoming air pressure. It's overcoming the friction of the latch bolt when it strikes the strike plate in the frame. And sometimes what happens is if you have to set you have to set the tension so high just to get it moving quick enough, you end up slamming the door constantly, and that's just a bad idea. I have found when I've got all spring hinges, I can share that load equally above the between the springs better. I'm not overtaxing any of the spring hinges, and I can get it closing in a more controllable fashion so that I don't slam the door. I think of it as a tugboat. They don't go very fast, but they can pull a lot of weight. When I've got more spring hinges doing the job, there's enough residual energy left at the closing cycle to get that door to, in a predictable, reliable, controlled fashion, to actually latch really nice and well. Just word to the wise. You can be conservative or aggressive with it. You can always add more. They're not very expensive is the bottom line. Bommer is a full-line manufacturer of all things residential spring hinge related, single acting spring hinges. They're obviously most widely known for their line of 3029 series double-acting spring hinges, but they're a full line manufacturer of all things architectural, commercial, hinge related as well, lavatory hardware, and postal specialties, of course. If you have any questions on the Bommer LB4342-400-632, and it's available in several different finishes as well, or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.